Of course. Do you think, do you see any progress on the Syrian-Israeli track?
Not yet. It's very interesting. I think the Obama administration, here we have another real division between the way the Netanyahu government looks at the world and the way the Obama administration looks at the world. I don't think we've ever had an Israeli government and an American government with such different attitudes ever about so many things. And the question of Syria is another one. The Obama administration looks at problems in the Middle East, and even the Middle East and Central Asia, Central and South Asia, holistically. Now they look almost at the U.S. relationship with the Muslim world holistically. So they understand, yes, there are discrete, under Bush, traditionally everything's been bilateral. Every problem is discrete. So you have a problem in Lebanon, you deal with Lebanon. A problem in Iraq, you deal with Iraq. A problem in Yemen, you deal with Yemen. A problem in Iran, you deal with Iran. A problem here, everything bilateral, unique, separated. The Bush administration broke with that, but they did it in an unbelievably stupid way with the Greater Middle East Initiative, which was one-size-fits-all democratization. It just made no sense. It was ridiculous, and it died in the cradle. Plus, when the Iraq War started to go badly, everyone realized this was a kind of drunken document. It was an intoxicated document. It was a document of people who believe they have millions of times more power than they have, and much more ability to change and reshape and change cultures and attitudes. And it was a ridiculous document. And of course it died in the crib, and then Bush even went back to the old bilateralism. Okay. The Obama administration has another way of looking at this, which is that, problems are discrete, but they're also connected. They see it's like a kaleidoscope, that when you shift anything a little, the whole pattern changes. Everything is connected to everything else. And yes, you have to deal with the Iraqi matters in terms of Iraq, but what happens in Iraq affects Syria, Iran, affects Lebanon, affects Jordan, affects Saudi Arabia, affects Kuwait, and vice versa, and that all these things are connected. So this is the Obama administration's point of view. So for the Obama administration, the Syria track and the Palestine track are parallel and complementary tracks. They don't see a contradiction between pursuing a peace agreement between Israel and Syria based mainly on the Golan Heights, the water in Lake Tiberias, the question of the Syrian role in Lebanon, etc., versus the Palestinian track, which has to do mainly with the occupation, and as I said, above all, about Jerusalem. The Netanyahu government, especially Netanyahu personally, I think, sees the thing exactly opposite. He does not believe in these holistic anything. He doesn't care what's connected to anything else. He's not in charge of a superpower. He's in charge of a small country with a big army and a lot of guns. But he does not have any responsibilities in the Persian Gulf or in North Africa or in the Caucasus or in the Balkans. He doesn't. So he's just thinking small. And from his point of view, the Syria track is useful as an alternative to the Palestinian track. And I think one of the things that he's hoping to do down the line, it's too early yet, it's not ready, but I think he's trying to keep the Syria thing alive so that if there comes a moment when the Obama administration seems to despair completely on the Palestinian track, that Netanyahu could then activate the Syria track in a way that says to the Americans, all right, listen, we've shown you, maybe it's even partly our fault, it doesn't matter. You now understand that we're not going to be able to make progress on the Palestinian track, but look what I have for you. I can't give you, a Rolls Royce, but I could give you a nice Toyota. Otherwise you'll have no car. So you can have no car, a small Toyota, and I know you want the Rolls Royce, but you can't have the Rolls Royce. But there is this little Civic, this Honda Civic that we could give you, that is not going to solve all your problems. It's not the greatest thing ever. It's not the Nobel this and that. Okay, but it's better than nothing, and we could do it. And I think it could be sold also in terms of Syria's relationship with Iran, which might be part of the issues to be discussed. And I think it is part of a long-term master plan that Netanyahu has to avoid the Palestine issue. Now, I think the Obama administration is aware of this, And I think they will resist it if they can, but it is conceivable that in a few years' time, or a couple of years' time even, this is a scenario that could play itself out. And you might see Netanyahu playing the Syria track off against the Palestine track, and it could actually even produce, conceivably, an agreement between Syria and Israel that will not resolve the fundamental problem that Israel and the United States have, which is the occupation in Palestine. The Golan Heights occupation is a very bad thing, but it is not the cause of a global tension. It is not the center of, it doesn't define people's lives all over the world. It doesn't have anything like the symbolic resonance of the question of Palestine, the question of Jerusalem, the question of the occupation, which is invested with so much passion by people all over the world: religious passion, political passion, cultural passion, north, south, east, west, colonialism, anti-colonialism, Christians, Jews, Muslims, west, east, everything. Everything is in. People have invested everything into that little conflict. And, solving the Syrian-Israel thing, it might be a nice achievement, but it is no great strategic change. Because, for one thing, the Israeli-Syrian relationship, at least directly between their countries, is completely stable. The Israelis have always said, and they're right, that the most stable agreement they ever had with anybody is the armistice with Syria. Nothing ever happens in the Golan Heights. Never. Nothing. No incident whatsoever. It works perfectly.
It happens in Lebanon.
It happens in Lebanon, and it happens in Gaza, and it happens elsewhere. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It happens in Lebanon. But specifically between the Israelis and the Syrians, that is not a burning issue with the Israelis, and for the Syrians also. This is an agreement, basically, that's ready to be signed whenever the two parties decide it is in their strategic interests mutually and simultaneously to sign it. They know the deal. They understand, they accept. They will argue a little bit about the water. That's the really, and a little bit maybe about Lebanon. But they can reach these are not impossible. This is not like arguing about Jerusalem, or arguing about the refugees, or arguing about something like Ma'ali Adumim or Ariel, or some horrible question that is almost impossible. You can make an agreement. If you both feel at the same moment strategic necessity to do it, it's there to be done. The reason they haven't done it yet is they never agreed at the same time that it was a strategic necessity. Not that there's any big thing to argue about.
Thank you very much.
You are welcome.